So I'm going to try to talk about consciousness, but it's impossible to do that. So I'm probably not going to get anywhere. Basically, what I'm going to do is contradict myself a lot and define consciousness in ways such that it does exist, and in other ways such that it doesn't exist, and in other ways such that it exists, but we can't say that it exists. So, in the sense that consciousness doesn't exist, if consciousness is that substance which has experiences about a world or about itself, then consciousness does not exist. Because there is no I that has a world, as though I were somehow separate and above the world, able to manipulate the world, make artifacts out of it, and influence other people, fall into love by choice. It's a fall. It's a leap off a cliff, so we do it consciously, implying that we weren't already in love with everything. And so now this is another definition of consciousness. Consciousness as everything. The awareness of whatever is arising, as Ken Wilber says, or just the Tao. That which is behind everything, but that you will never reach. So the universe is like a lotus, and from afar and from the surface it looks beautiful and perfect, and it's like, the design is like a star, and it has such pure beauty. But then you notice under the water that there's a root system that connects it to the mud and to the muck of the earth, the unintelligent mud. And so the beauty on the surface all of a sudden has this dark shadow, and you start looking into the center of the lotus, and it just cascades outward, and you go in and deeper, and you don't ever reach that root. You sort of just loop through it. And in this sense, consciousness is ever present, and you can't say that it exists or it doesn't exist. But now I think in the sense that the rationalist thought is trying to put it, consciousness does exist. He's using it to deny that it exists. He's saying that only matter exists. But he's speaking, using words. And words, language, to say something like that and to assert that only matter exists and that there is no subject, no consciousness, no inside. There are only outside surfaces. To say that, to speak that, all you can ever be doing is rationalizing something. In other words, making up a reason after the fact, after your experience, to try to explain that experience. But you can't explain something if it's already happened, because it's going to keep happening, and you're going to keep having to explain it after the fact, but the fact is always escaping you. The fact can never be present with you if you think that you have to find it. If you think that you have to assert what it is because it wasn't already there for you to behold. Carl Jung said a lot about consciousness and the psyche, more than anyone before him maybe ever had. He really synthesized the whole Western tradition. I mean, his central scientific hypothesis of archetypes, which to call it scientific is difficult, though. because the empirical evidence for the existence of archetypes requires um, something beyond an awareness of something beyond what is experienced with the five senses. It requires consciousness. And he was a very conscious man, and his last contribution, I mean, his autobiography really, but his last say on what he thought the psyche was all about is called Memories, Dreams, and Reflections. That's what a scientist of the mind had to say about his subject matter. Memories, dreams, reflections. What else is there but reflections? And, here's another word we can define in many ways. We could mean that reflection is being self-conscious and thinking about what you experienced in the world again and again and again, trying to figure it out. But by reflection, we could also mean, in a different way, in a non-dualistic way, that it's not I who am reflecting on the other, but it is just reflection. I'm a reflection of you, a reflection of the world. The other people that I am in contact with are a reflection of me. And if someone says something to me, and I take it to heart, it's because I took it to heart. I can never hear anything but what I understand. And so we only see ourselves in others if there is an other. But then see if consciousness is ever present and there is no duality, no matter instead of mind, no mind instead of matter, but just something that you can't say, but that's here and not here, not out here or in here, just present. So consciousness is just shushness, just shh, don't say anything about it. If we say it doesn't exist, we're atheists, basically. Where it's a similar position the atheist takes towards God. They say God does not exist, therefore asserting a belief that cannot be proven. See, there's no way to prove that something that you can't prove or disprove God. Science can't disprove God. Science can't prove God. Anybody that tries to use quantum physics to say that therefore God exists, or therefore you have some kind of ultimate free will that you can use in an egoistic way to get what you want, like you just believe something and it happens to you. That's a little over the top. I think what science and quantum physics and systems theory are really showing is that we should be open to spirit, open to mystery. And by mystery, it doesn't mean chaos, something that can never be experienced. You just can't know it. You can't have it written down in some logical, rational formula, because you can never formalize this process. You can make a map of the process, but that's not the process. And if we start mistaking the map for the process, then you say, oh, there's only the map. There's no process. Look, we have it all mapped out. There it is. We've drawn it up, we've designed it, it's computer simulation, it's the matrix, it's real. That's all that there is. It's hard to you can't just give all of your energy to that one belief, because it's no better or worse than any other belief in God, the Father, and Jesus Christ as the only Savior of human beings in the world, or any belief. Any assertion like that takes language so literally that it would say that this is a true statement because of the particles that exist objectively in the world. I mean, that's fine, and I see why you want to say that, but you can't say it that way because you're leaving something else out. You're always leaving something else out. I'm leaving something else out. I shouldn't even make a video about consciousness. But then you would know I was leaving something else out. So maybe I'm sacrificing my speech, knowingly leaving something out just because I did.